Hey everyone, Robert here, author of Expansion Mastery, the practical guide to living a fully engaged life. Are you ready to start living life to the fullest? Are you ready and willing to transform yourself and your life from ordinary to extraordinary? Well, let's get on with it then. Welcome to the Fully Engaged Life. Welcome back to the show, everyone, and welcome to the final challenge of the Earth section. This is challenge number 5 in the Earth Esoteric section, and it is overall challenge number 18. This one is dealing with the idea of duality. Let's dive right into it, shall we? Because the idea of duality and non-duality in spiritualism is an incredibly deep and complex subject. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a very basic, simple way to begin understanding it, and not only understanding it, but to begin working with it, to actually begin interacting with this concept of duality. Duality is perceived as being part of life in the physical world. When we are born into this life experience, we become, at least as we commonly perceive it, two beings, one of the physical body and one of the mind. We have a tendency to look at everything around us either as mental or physical, and we see these things as being very different and opposite, when in fact just the opposite is true. The mind and the body are one. They are intimately linked. We can understand this because when we die, the body ceases to exist, as does the mind, leaving only the non-physical consciousness. So the ordinary mind perceives our being, perceives us as being this physical body and the mind, right? That's what most people tend to believe and view as their truth, but as we know, that is not the truth. In reality, we are closer to being mental physical beings having this experience, and at the same time being a non-physical being. This is more the truth of the matter. I mean, we literally have one foot in the experience of the physical world and another foot in the non-physical world. And this is how we actually exist. And later we realize that the physical body and the mind were merely an illusion, and the only thing we really are is that non-physical being having this experience, or more correctly, experiencing what we view as this life experience. So typically, from an ordinary mental perspective, the concept of duality refers to things like opposites, day and night, up and down, love and fear, masculine and feminine, and so on. So when we see things this way, this is a normal state of mind when we are living life with a mindset of duality. However, it is possible through consistent spiritual practice to transcend this sense of duality and find a state of consciousness beyond it. And this consciousness leads us to a oneness. But we're going to stay for a moment in this mindset of duality and its relationship to opposites. So in the mind of duality, the physical and the mental are viewed as two very different and even opposite things, when in fact, we know that they are one. They're not truly separate at all. And we can begin to look at this through the very famous Taiji symbol, right, called the yin and yang symbol, usually. Most see that as a symbol of opposing forces, but this is not actually true. This is not what the symbol is showing at all. This is actually a symbol where the roundness, the circle of it, is symbolic of the Tao. It's encompassing the Tao, all that is. And then you have the two fish shapes that they're commonly referred to in the center of that circle. One is black and one is white, and this is symbolizing yin and yang. These are opposites. But if you look at the shape, and more importantly, if you understand that that line separating the yin and the yang refers to the movement between the yin and the yang, showing that these things are in a constant state of change, then we start to understand this. So it's saying that within everything, within the all, you have these opposing forces when you are in a world of duality. But even within that duality, these opposing forces are not truly opposing. They're actually complementary, and showing to us that all of life is in a constant state of change. Nothing stays the same. And that in this way, everything is one. Everything is related. So generally with this Taiji symbol, there's a line of some sort, the outer circle. This represents singularity, or the one, the all. And then inside that there's actually three things inside this. You have the yin, the yang, and the line that separates them. That looks kind of like an S or whatever. It's to show that it's in motion, that these two forces, complementary forces, are actually in motion, and we're always changing at all times. But at the center of it all, we are still one. So a lot of times when people see that symbol, all they understand is the yin and the yang, and they don't really understand what's going on. And then it's the egoic mind that perceives these things as opposites, because the ego perceives everything in opposites. So that's all they're capable of seeing. But when you understand that that line dividing the yin and the yang is a third aspect of that, which is the constant state of flux and growth and change, and then the fact that all of that fits together under the umbrella of all that is, then you get a better indication of how to understand duality and non-duality. So there are a lot of ways we can take a look at this. And to better understand the idea of duality and non-duality, I like to have people begin by making a list with two columns. Now, one of those columns is going to have the header that will read things I like. The other column is going to have a header that will read things I don't like. This offers us a very clear representation of duality that we can see through this contrast, because when we use duality as a mental tool, it can become very helpful. We can better understand what we do like by understanding what we believe we don't like. And we can become far more clear about ourselves through this type of process. So this offers us a way to understand this concept of duality very clearly, and allows us to begin interacting with it. So why do I begin with duality instead of just teaching the idea of non-duality? Well, because it's a lot easier to start to work with what you already perceive as being true or being real. Even though it's just an illusion, it's still easier to work with, because most people, when we are of ordinary minds, still perceive that as actual reality. And oftentimes, if we just approach this idea with a sense of non-duality, the ego will kick in as a defense mechanism to protect your beliefs. And then you don't get any progress at all, right? We don't go anywhere. So what we're trying to do is work with what we think we already know. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to relax the beliefs around it a little bit, and we're going to maybe take a look at what could actually be there that we haven't understood before. And this allows us to open and expand our mind. And not to mention, because of the times in which we are living, I find that people don't consciously know what they do and do not like anymore. Just a few reasons for this is that their minds have become increasingly numb due to the negative effects of tech, video games, cell phones, computers, things like that. Not to mention all of the harmful side effects of prescription and illicit drugs. So we have all of these things that prevent us from having a clear mind and being tuned into ourselves and understanding what we do and don't like. The mind becomes so clouded from these things that it detaches from the normal capabilities of focusing and just connecting to your experience of life. As an experiment over years, I would ask family members, friends, and acquaintances, what do you like to do? What are some of the things you enjoy doing? And 9 times out of 10, I got the same answer. I don't know. That's all I ever heard. I don't know. And I said, well, what is it that you enjoy doing when you don't have to work? What do you do? How do you pass the time? What do you enjoy? I don't know. I guess nothing really. And as I looked into this, I found that most of these people were then either addicted to staring into their phone and playing with their phone all day, or they were addicted to sitting around playing video games. And they didn't want to admit that they enjoyed those things, right? It's amazing. That's part of an addiction, though, isn't it? So then I would probe a little deeper and I would ask them, what is it that you are passionate about in life? And got the same answer. I don't really know. I don't think there's anything I'm passionate about. Okay. Well, do you do anything where you lose all track of time when you're doing that? Nope, really don't. This is the disconnect that I'm talking about. And what we're trying to do through these practices and through these challenges is to get out of that, snap out of it, and reconnect to ourselves very, very deeply. Because our humanity is being sucked out of us, or numbed to where we don't even recognize it anymore. And we must protect our humanity. So, remember I asked you to make 2 columns, and those headings are going to be things I like, things I don't like. What I'd like you to do is write down 10, 15, 20 things that you like. What are things you like to do? What are things you like about life? What's your favorite food? What are the things that you're passionate about? What do you enjoy spending your time doing? This is the first part of this challenge. Second part is then to write all of the things that you don't really seem to care for. And be honest here. You have to write that down. So often today I find people are unwilling to be honest about what they don't like. They don't want to have to admit that for fear of being judged or something. But for the sake of this exercise, you don't have to share it with anybody. So be honest. Put down the things you don't like, things, that you experience, or again, things you eat, things you have to do, whatever, things you don't particularly care for. It's okay to have that, particularly at this phase of the practice. Through this, we're going to begin an exploration, helping you to reconnect quite clearly with what you do and do not like. This is very helpful because it keeps you from becoming lost. And by being truthful about the things that we do and do not like, we can start to develop a sense of authenticity. So we're going to use this simple practice as a way of becoming more intensely aware of this dualistic state in the normal state of mind within the human experience. And as the ego develops and grows, the ego sees everything in one extreme or the other, right? It has little acknowledgement for anything in the middle. It likes the drama of either this or that, and the more extreme the opposite force is, the better it likes it. So we can expose a little bit of this to understand that it's there, and in that way we can start to interact with it and make corrections. From that point, we can take it even further and begin to dissolve the illusion of duality altogether as we become more tuned in to our spiritual self. What you may not realize at this point in the challenge is that this challenge is actually the beginning of helping you to dissolve certain beliefs that will then allow you to expand your sense of self and begin to see things from a completely new perspective. Okay, so you should have two columns. You should have a column for the things you do like, column for the things you do not like. And you should have a minimum of 10 items per column, 20 if you're feeling ambitious, and you can do more than that if you're feeling overly ambitious. That's fine too. So what we're going to do is become very clear on the things that we know we like and the things that we know we don't like. At least those are our beliefs at this point in time, right? Now what we're going to do is begin working to transform those things that we believe we don't like into something more neutral. Instead of having dislike for them, like a certain food based on maybe a childish belief or experience, we're going to begin to see these things in a whole new light. Yes, this is going to require you to relax your beliefs about those things and embrace the concept that I teach in my book, Fluid Beliefs, where you have to allow your beliefs, instead of being something so concrete and in most cases being something that's preconceived, you're going to have to relax that and try these things. And try them from a state of shoshin, a beginner's mind. Try them with a whole new openness and acceptance for what they are, instead of something based on past conditioning and beliefs formed from a very ordinary state of mind. So once you begin by being very clear on what you do and you don't like, we're going to blur those lines a little bit, especially in the column of the things you don't like. One of the things we're going to start with is you're going to cross out the words at the top, don't like or dislike, however you wrote it. And what I'd like you to do is write something like opportunities or growth or positive change. So we're using this idea of the contrast of things we like and dislike in order to better understand what we enjoy and what we don't in life. And through that, we're going to begin discovering that the things that we don't like can offer us the opportunity to change and grow. We just have to get out of the comfort zone. See, these things, these lists that you just put together of the things you like and you dislike, that's actually a representation of your comfort zone. And by beginning to interact in a new way with the things that we believe we don't like, we can actually step outside of that comfort zone. A lot of people think they're stepping outside their comfort zone when in reality, they're just bouncing in this area between these two lists a little bit, and they're not really stepping outside of it at all. So allow your belief about not liking something to become more fluid. Well, I didn't like it then, or I didn't like it, if it's food, I didn't like it prepared that way, or I didn't like it back then when I was a kid, or I had a bad experience with it when I was younger, but that doesn't mean that's how it's going to be every time. Maybe if it's a food, again, that's just an easy thing to reference, maybe what you had was low quality or prepared terribly or something. So if you get something really good quality and prepared by a skilled chef, that could change how you perceive this, right? It could change your belief about it. You said, I hated this when I was younger, but geez, this is really good. I love this, right? This can happen. And then you can take that and you can change it from your dislike column into your like column. So it gives us this opportunity for growth and a way to explore our conditioning and incorrect sensory perceptions. This way, you begin to dissolve the ego's view of good and bad, like and dislike, and begin to experience things from a fresh, more awakened perspective. Then, as you continue to engage in this process, many things start to happen. And one of those things is that you start to understand that, there isn't just good and bad, there's also neutral. There's things that I like, there's things that I don't like, and there's things that I could take or leave. Doesn't matter. As you begin this transformation, you begin to empower yourself because you're no longer limited by the things you like and don't like. You're no longer held prisoner by that sort of belief. Instead, some of the things become neutral, and it's just like, if I had to eat them, I could eat them. It may not be my first choice, but okay. And if they're prepared a certain way, I might enjoy them very much. So you start to grow this way. Now, also through this recognition of what you like, what you dislike, and what you feel neutral about, you start to open up a new category. And eventually, it's this neutrality that allows us to begin to enjoy life without having to create so much judgment around every single thing we do and experience. This, in turn, allows us to accept the experiences in life without so much judgment, without jumping to, I really like this, or I hate that. And just be with the experience. Just allow yourself to be in the moment with what is going on without judgment. It is the ego that causes all of this mental judgment that we create. And remember that when there's ego, there's the absence of essence. So here we begin to see that a simple exercise actually holds a great deal of depth and opportunity for us to grow and expand as human beings. And this is just one more thing that allows you to step outside of fear, hesitation, judgment, all of these things that hold us back in life, and start to experience life. Start to be more open to the life experience as a whole, as an adventure. And it allows us to begin to live a fully engaged life. We cannot live fully engaged while we are held prisoner by the extremes of the ego for things that we like and dislike. When we move past that, we can experience things in a new way that allows us to expand, to awaken, to be in the moment without judgment. And this allows us to connect to our essence, so we begin living from essence instead of ego. And once this takes place, you find old beliefs dissolve away, and you begin to live a more fully engaged life. So just as a brief recap, begin with 2 columns. Things I like, things I don't like. List 10 to 20 things in each column. Take a look at those things. Get to know them. Understand that about yourself right now. It's perfectly fine. And then what you're going to do is cross out the words, things I don't like, and you're going to write opportunities, growth, positive change, any words that work for you to show some sort of positive change in your outlook. See, by writing them, and you don't want to type this on a computer, you want to handwrite this on a piece of paper, because it's that energy of you transferring your intention into your hand moving and writing those words on the paper that are going to actually help you to accomplish this. So you write this down. Then look at each thing individually in the column that is now your opportunity column and try to understand what it was. Reflect and contemplate on, why is it I don't like that? Not just that, I don't like it because it has this texture, it looks like that, or whatever. No. What created that? See, there's past conditioning that created your dislike for that. Hey, well, it was when I was 10, I had that, or, whatever it is. So you want to get clear on understanding that a lot of our dislikes came about from past conditioning of some sort or another. Maybe your parents just told you didn't like it. Maybe you didn't like it as a baby, the way they fix it. Who knows? It can be a myriad things. But what you're looking for is to understand that and then start to engage it in a new way. Take a look at it as, this could be really good. And then find a way that would give you the best experience instead of setting yourself up for failure again just to prove your belief is correct. That's a trap a lot of people fall into. And the idea is maybe you taste it and you go, oh, this is fantastic. Where's this been all my life? Why didn't I think I liked this? So then you take that and you move it over, you add it to your like column. Maybe you have a different experience. Maybe you taste and go, okay, well, I don't dislike it anymore. Okay, I could do this, or I could eat this, or I could drink that, or whatever it is. I could take it or leave it, but sure, there's nothing wrong with it. That's cool. Hey, so then you could even start a more neutral column on a different page if you wanted. Maybe you have the experience where now I just still don't like it. Don't like it. Fine. That's the way it is. Even if we can move a couple of those things over, you're beginning to experience growth. If you cling to all those things and go, no, I just don't like any of it, and that's more that you're clinging to a past belief that you have created more than anything real. Okay? So what we're trying to do with this challenge here is trying to transcend the understanding of duality into understanding the nature of non-duality. And this is a very simplistic way to interact with this, but it gives us a good foundation, gives us some clarity for these terms, what they mean and what we're working with. And then from there, we can get far more in-depth with them. But this was the idea of this exercise of duality in my book, Expansion Mastery. So have fun, engage this practice, and see what happens. With any luck, you'll relax the concrete beliefs that the ego has created for you, and you will start to enjoy things that maybe you didn't enjoy before. You will start to expand your sense of self and get a glimpse of the world without judgment. This is very important, and it feels so good to be in that space, to be in the moment and not be judging anything. Just to let it be, to have the experience. And when the experience simply is, there is no good, no bad, no like, dislike. It just is. Now you're starting to get a glimpse of what is meant by non-duality, at least in one manner of speaking. So enjoy, have fun with this practice. And of course, visit me at www.expansionmastery.com. I want to thank everyone who has been turning out to buy autographed copies of my book. I appreciate that so much. And I see a number of you are sharing the podcast on your social media. You're making the effort to go on and like the YouTube channel and things. Thank you so much for that. Together, we can get these teachings, these more authentic spiritual teachings out in the world at a time when they are greatly needed. So make sure and visit me. Grab your autographed copy of Expansion Mastery so you can follow along with these challenges in my book. And make sure that you help us out on social media. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, share these with your friends and family, all of that stuff. Leave some comments here and there as well, and some of you have been doing that too. Thank you so much for that. I cannot express how grateful I am for your assistance, because it's only together that we can make a difference in the world, and the world needs it. All right, my friends. I wish you the very best in your practices and your life. Take care.